And it should be any person who conceives of such a list. The one who attempts to quell opposing opinions with ignorance and oppression. To paraphrase Robert Greene Ingersoll, you are the inferior of any man whose rights you trample underfoot. Pastor Stahl, we are your neighbors, your educators, your entertainers, your authors, your scientists, your business partners, your community, your world. We are atheists. We are everywhere. And no list will ever contain us.
Before I kill you, I must ask you one question. Who am I? For I have amnesia!
A civilization that existed millions of years before the dinosaurs?
The planet has been spinning for 5 billion years. We've only been around for the past 250,000. There were 6 major extinction events before we even crawled out of the slime. So who's to say that one of them didn't wipe out a great civilization?
Let's leave the last word to a man who's glimpsed inside the mind of the Terminator machine.
Recreating human beings, it's a bad idea.
And man's over-reliance on technology. James Cameron imagined a world in which machines turn on their creators.
We must destroy him or humanity is dead.
I did, didn't I? Beat him in his own game.
And put him together. That should do it. Right, computer. Display the...
And for some reason, my hair and ear form an M and a G.
I want to play another game.
It was like my eyes were open for the first time.
It's a wake-up call that tells you your true fitness level.
George, you created this whole world, this whole thing. You can smash it. You can destroy it. Something's holding you back. Something's holding you back.
What is it? What is George? And how can I forget that Claire can't have kids? How?
Perception filter. Some kind of hugely powerful perception filter convinced you and Claire. Everyone made you change your memory.
Behold, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. Since 2008, the vault has preserved seeds of every known plant species in case of extinction.
But how long can you spend living a double life before it takes control of you?
This can be expressed in a simple mathematical problem. The first mathematical value we see is 0. The explanation for this is, in order for God to be responsible for creating the universe, which is existence, he would have to be non-existent. Otherwise, there would be nothing for him to create, since saying God exists presupposes existence. So he can be expressed with the number 0 for a null value, since that's what something outside the universe would be, a null, which by definition is a non-existent or empty value. The second mathematical value we see is another 0. Now, if he created anything, he has to have something to create with. This is because there is not a single exception to the universal logic and rule that everything created or designed was done using pre-existing material. The very idea of creating something, by definition, assumes having something to create with. But according to Christian apologetics, their God created ex nihilo, out of nothing. So what the Christian God had to create with can be expressed with another 0, because that would be null as well. So the mathematical problem Christians must solve in order to justify the logical existence of their God and prevent him from being falsified as the creator of the universe is expressed in the equal sign and the number 1. How does 0 plus 0 make 1? 1 obviously representing something, i.e. the universe, and by extension, things that exist. How does non-existence create existence? If Christians cannot solve this simple mathematical problem, then we can conclude there never was nothing. Existence always existed in some form, and thus required no God to create it, which falsifies the Judeo-Christian God by way of adherence to rational farcing. So, Christians, how good is your math? Can you make 0 plus 0 equal 1?
The distant galaxies and cosmic background radiation suggest inflation was real, but what caused it is still a mystery. In the end, regardless of how the universe got to be so big, the laws of physics suggest that all of its energy, and hence all of its stuff, may add up to 0. So taken as a whole, the universe is just a strange form of nothing. Seen this way, the question of how you get from nothing to something doesn't make any sense. Something and nothing may well be the same thing.
Oh. A dog!
We're running out of time. The way I heard it, you've been classified at category 0.
What's category 0?
Oh, that day is gonna come. Category 0 is you.
There's an emergency mandate being passed through Congress defining a new category 0, meaning people who have earned themselves a place in the heavens for moral reasons.
They want to burn the hell out?
They're always sentenced to death. What you had was a wonderful delay, and now it's time for that adventure to come to an end.
If we get a recession, then it's classic isolation policy. Given the lack of resources, the council will put up with it.
Someone planned it.
Yeah, but does that include 2008 as well? I mean, was that part of the plan? At the first stage?
Could be. I think we've been manipulated for decades.
What for? I mean, where's it all heading?
I don't know. It's not like the old days of tortured. I mean, people were fighting there, but this is like the whole world is changing. We're just so tiny.
We've been on all night. They said there's going to be a run on it.
And an ever-growing feeling of being lost and void of meaning. There is a great amount of energy being pushed to the surface of the collective mind. Evolution does not come about gradually. It happens in spurts and fits, and comes about due to a tremendous need for the organism to survive. We are now at a point in history where we will choose. We will choose to become sovereign or remain dependent, to face our true self or continue fighting a ghost, to become well or allow this disease to grow, to live or to die. The choice is yours. When habits need to be broken to ensure the survival of the organism, we see this event in nature and call it evolution. The collective mind shapes our evolution. And a great example of this is the experiment done by John Cairns in 1988. His team put lactose-intolerant cells in an environment with only lactose for food. Under a law of nature, every one of these lactose-intolerant cells would have died. But surprisingly, they all survived. Every one of them understood the problem that they were facing and replaced the defective lactase enzyme with a functioning one to utilize lactose for food. If a cell has the ability to decide how and when to evolve because it's facing extinction, then anything can.
The existing beliefs are that a human body is a biochemical machine controlled by genes, and therefore the behavior, emotions, and character of our biology, our health, our lives are controlled by genes which we don't control. So this is what we taught people. You're a victim, genes control your life, you didn't pick them, you can't change them, the genes you end up with program what's going to happen. My experiments on stem cells, which I started in 1967, I'd isolate one stem cell, put it in a petri dish, and then it would divide every 10 hours. So I took all the cells, split them up into 3 groups, and then just put them in 3 petri dishes. And then I changed the growth medium, the constituents of the environment, in each of the 3 dishes. In one dish, the cells form bone. The second dish, they form muscle. In the third dish, they form fat cells. What controlled the fate of a cell? And the first thing you have to say is, well, wait, they were all genetically identical when they were put in a dish. So obviously the genes didn't control it because they all had the same genes. What was different was the environment. And all of a sudden in my career, it's like, oh my gosh, here I am teaching genes control life, and the cells are telling me genes respond to life. And since you can control the response, you can control your life. It's how you read the environment, how your mind perceives the environment. And if you understand this, then you could lead yourself to the most wonderful expression on this planet, to be fully alive and fully healthy, by you respond to the world.
In the face of financial collapse across the world, political and religious wars raging tirelessly, and an ever-growing feeling of being lost and void of meaning.
In front of them for a while and figured out they weren't God, and by then the disease had spread, the smallpox, and wiped most of them out. But again, that's all it is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They got it for secular people. They got it for Christians. So you're just like, why don't you not care? It's the end of the world anyways. Then you sit out of the game of life. It's a cop-out. It's a joke. It's a game.